This story is titled, My Family Pretends to Forget My Birthday. Every year, but after I took control and celebrated myself, they tried to guilt their way back in. Hey, so I, 25 male, don't know about you guys. But birthdays have always been a weird thing for me. Some people barely care about them, but for me, they've been a sore spot for as long as I can remember. It's not about wanting some huge celebration or tons of gifts. It's about the principle. Growing up, birthdays were a clear reminder of how much I didn't matter in my family. I'm the middle child. If you're also the middle kid, you probably get where I'm coming from. My older brother Alex and my younger sister Mia were treated like royalty. Alex was the golden boy, so his birthdays were massive events. We're talking themed parties, custom cakes, and a guest list that looked like the whole town was invited. Mia, on the other hand, was the baby of the family. Her birthdays were equally ridiculous. Balloons, decorations, even one year where they hired a live band for her sweet 16. And me? Well, let's just say my birthdays didn't get the same treatment. If I was lucky, my mom would grab a cake from the grocery store at the last minute. If I wasn't, my birthday was just another day. No balloons, no gifts, no acknowledgement. The first time it really hit me was when I turned 8. Alex had just had this massive party for his 10th birthday. A superhero theme with costumes, a magician, and even party favors that were cooler than any toy I owned. So when my birthday rolled around a few weeks later, I thought, okay, maybe this year they'll do something small but nice. I wasn't expecting anything fancy, but I thought at least there'd be a cake. But nope, nothing, nada. We sat at the dinner table, and my parents spent the whole time talking about Alex's soccer game. I sat there quietly, waiting for someone to say, hey, isn't it your birthday today? By the end of dinner, I couldn't take it anymore and asked, did you guys forget? My mom barely looked up and said, oh, sorry, we've been so busy. We'll make it up to you next year. They didn't. Then it became a pattern. When I was about 13, we were out for a family dinner, and the waitress casually asked if there were any birthdays coming up. My mom chuckled and said, oh, just his, but we're not doing anything big. He's not really the type to need much. I remember sitting there, stunned, as everyone at the table laughed it off like it was some harmless joke. But it wasn't. I had been quietly hoping for something. A dinner, a cake, anything to make me feel special. Instead, I got my mom openly declaring to a stranger that I wasn't worth celebrating. Every year after that was the same story. Alex and Mia got these over-the-top parties, while my birthdays were either forgotten or reduced to an afterthought. By the time I was in high school, I stopped expecting anything. I'd save up some allowance money and buy myself something small, just so it felt like someone cared. I tried to act like it didn't bother me, but deep down, it did. It wasn't just about the birthday parties. It was what they represented. Every year, I was reminded that I wasn't as important as Alex or Mia. I wasn't the golden child or the baby of the family. I was just there. It wasn't just about the birthday parties. It was what they represented. Every year, I was reminded that I wasn't as important as Alex or Mia. I wasn't the golden child or the baby of the family. I was just there. One year, when I was about 10, I remember Alex asking for a specific toy for his birthday, and my parents drove hours to find it. A few months later, I asked for a smaller, simpler gift for mine, a book set I'd seen at the local store. My mom brushed me off saying, books are too expensive, maybe next year. I later found out she'd bought Mia a dollhouse that cost twice as much just because she'd asked for it. That was the moment it hit me. It wasn't just that I was being overlooked. I wasn't even being considered. Now with all this buildup in my inner self, I grew up with the need of being seen or getting celebrated for once. So fast forward to this year. I'm 25 now, working as a software developer, and for the most part, I've got my life together. But those feelings of being overlooked, they don't just go away. They stick with you. And this year, when my birthday was coming up, I realized I was still carrying all that resentment. I thought about how I'd been treated all these years, and something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to sit around waiting for scraps of attention anymore. If my family wasn't going to celebrate me, I'd celebrate myself. But this wasn't just about having a good time. This was about making a statement. After years of being overlooked, I wanted to do something so big, so bold, that they couldn't ignore it. I wanted to take control of the narrative and show them that I wasn't the same quiet, forgotten middle child. That's when I came up with the idea. I was going to throw a party for myself. Now, I won't lie. The idea of throwing a party and going all out almost felt ridiculous. I mean, who spends that much money and effort on their own birthday just to make a point? But this wasn't just about celebrating me. It was about taking back all the years I'd been sidelined and making a statement so bold that my family couldn't ignore it, even if they wanted to. The plan started small. At first, I thought about just treating myself to something nice, like a new gadget or a weekend trip. But honestly, that felt hollow. Buying myself a gift wouldn't fix anything. It wouldn't undo years of feeling overlooked. I needed something bigger, something that wasn't just for me but could also send a message. That's when the idea of the cruise came to me. I started looking into luxury cruises, the kind that make you feel like a millionaire, even if it costs you months of savings. Balcony suites, 5-star dining, spa treatments, the works. I didn't care how much it cost. This wasn't just a vacation. It was a declaration. I also wanted a build-up to the big reveal. It wouldn't just be a regular birthday party. I wanted it to be classy, something that felt more like a celebration of breaking free from the past. I imagined a slideshow playing in the background, showing all the forgotten birthdays, followed by the announcement of the cruise. It was petty, sure, but also poetic in a way. Once the idea was solid, I started planning. I booked a small but elegant venue, nothing over the top, just enough to set the mood. I hired a caterer to provide a spread of finger foods and desserts that would make anyone jealous. And I started working on the slideshow, pulling together photos from old birthdays where my family had either done the bare minimum or nothing at all. One thing was certain, everyone in the family would be invited, but my parents' names would be mistakenly left off the list. I wasn't trying to burn bridges, but I also didn't want their half-hearted participation ruining the vibe. Instead, I invited my extended family, cousins, aunts, uncles, and a few close friends who had always been supportive. These were the people who'd actually cared about me over the years, even if they hadn't known the full story. To build up some hype, I started posting vague teasers on social media. "Big announcement coming soon," I wrote. "Stay tuned." My friends were in on it, commenting things like, "Can't wait," and "This is going to be epic." Meanwhile, my family group chat was the usual. Updates about Alex's promotion and Mia's vacation photos. Not a single mention of my upcoming birthday. But I started to feel a mix of excitement and nerves. What if the party was a flop? What if no one showed up? Or worse, what if they did show up and didn't get it? My friends reassured me that it was going to be amazing. "You deserve this," one of them said. "And honestly, it's about time you stood up for yourself." As the day approached, I finalized all the details. The slideshow was ready, the food was ordered, and the decorations were set to arrive the morning of the party. I even had a custom banner made that said, "Celebrating me" in bold letters. It felt a little self-indulgent, but that was kind of the point. The night before the party, I got a call from my mom. For a second, I thought maybe she'd remembered my birthday, but no. She wanted to know if I could help out with Alex's party the following week. I told her I had plans and hung up. The next morning, I woke up feeling a strange mix of emotions. Part of me was excited. This was finally my chance to take control of my own narrative. But another part of me felt almost guilty. Was I being too dramatic? Was this just going to create more problems with my family? I shook off those thoughts and focused on the task at hand. As the guests started arriving, I felt a wave of relief. People actually showed up. My cousins, aunts, uncles, and friends all came, dressed nicely and smiling. They seemed genuinely excited to be there, which was more than I could say for any birthday I'd had before. When the party started, I made sure to play it cool. I wanted everyone to relax and enjoy themselves before I give my announcement. My buddies helped set the tone, hyping the event without giving too much away. I could hear people asking questions like, "What's the big announcement?" And "Did you hear he's planning something crazy?" The suspense was building exactly how I wanted it to. About an hour into the party, when the room was buzzing with conversation, I decided it was time. My friend Josh grabbed the mic and tapped it a few times to get everyone's attention. "All right, everyone, settle down. It's time for the main event," he said with a grin. I stepped up, trying to keep my nerves in check. Public speaking wasn't really my thing, but this wasn't just any speech. It was my moment. I started with a few thank yous, keeping it light. First of all, thank you all for being here. It means the world to me. You guys are the ones who've always supported me, and honestly, I couldn't ask for a better group of people to celebrate with. Then, I shifted gears. I want to take a minute to talk about why this birthday is so important to me, I began, looking around the room. Growing up, birthdays weren't exactly a big deal in my family. Well, not my birthdays anyway. For years, I got used to being the kid who got a grocery store cake, if that. My brother and sister had these huge celebrations, and I was always kind of forgotten. At first, I told myself it didn't matter, but over time, it did. The room went quiet, and I could see some of my extended family nodding, like they were starting to get it. I spent years pretending it didn't bother me, but it did. Every year, I'd sit there waiting for someone to say, "Hey, let's do something special," and it never happened. So this year, I decided to change that. This year, I decided to celebrate myself the way I deserve to be celebrated. At that moment, I clicked the remote, and the slideshow began. The first images were of my past birthdays, or lack thereof. Pictures of a sad store-bought cake, a blurry shot of me sitting alone at the table, and one where I wasn't even in the frame because nobody bothered to take a picture of me. Each slide told its own story, and by the time it reached the last few years, the room was dead silent. Then, the next slide showed the cruise ship I'd booked, the screen filled with photos of the luxurious balcony suites, the fancy restaurants, and the tropical destination. A murmur spread through the room as people started realizing what I'd done. The final slide read, "Happy birthday to me, a new beginning." The room erupted into cheers and applause. People clapped, whistled, and came up to hug me. My cousins were the first to congratulate me, saying how proud they were that I'd done something so bold. A few of my aunts and uncles chimed in, saying they had no idea things had been so bad for me growing up, and that they were sorry they hadn't noticed. Josh, always the hype man. Dude, this is legendary. You're setting the bar so high for birthdays that none of us can compete. I truly enjoyed it, and felt like finally I was being celebrated for who I was, not just as an afterthought. It wasn't just about the cruise or the party. It was about finally standing up for myself and saying, I matter too. Everything about the party was posted on social media, photos and videos, and I couldn't stop thinking about my family's reaction. I knew they'd be upset, but part of me had hoped they'd at least take a moment to reflect on why I'd done this. Instead, they doubled down, making it about them like they always did. By the time I got home, my phone was filled with messages. My mom's texts were the first I saw. The tone was exactly what I expected. Dripping with guilt, tripping. I can't believe you didn't invite us. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? The message hit me like a slap. Not because it hurt, but because it was so predictable. It was classic mom. Twist the narrative and make herself the victim. Then there was Mia's message. Do you really think this was necessary? A little over the top, don't you think? Her words oozed condescension, as if she couldn't comprehend why I would want to make a big deal out of my birthday. Coming from someone who'd had a sweet 16 that rivaled a wedding, the irony was almost laughable. Alex's message was the cherry on top. Nice move making it all about you. Real mature. I could almost hear the smugness in his voice, like he was trying to remind me of my place in the family hierarchy. Alex was the golden boy, the one who could do no wrong. In his mind, I had crossed some invisible line by daring to make myself the center of attention. I didn't reply to any of them. Not yet. I needed time to think, to decide how, or if, I even wanted to respond. But the texts kept coming. My mom started calling, leaving voicemails about how hurt she was and how she never raised me to be so selfish. Mia followed up with a snarky message. Don't worry, we'll make sure to keep the spotlight off you next time. Even a few extended relatives chimed in, asking why I hadn't invited my parents. It was like a coordinated attack. On the other hand, the group chat with my friends was lit up with messages praising the party and hyping up the cruise. When are you leaving? Send us pics of every fancy meal you eat. It felt good to have people in my corner, especially when my family was so determined to drag me down. Later that night, I was at home, finally winding down, when my parents showed up. I opened it, and my mom barged in before I could even say anything. So, this is what you've been up to? A big celebration for yourself? No invite for us? My dad stood behind her, shaking his head. All this for a birthday? Really? He said, like I'd done something outrageous. My mom started going off about how hard they'd tried to make things fair growing up and how I was ungrateful for not including them. I didn't argue. Instead, I grabbed my phone, pulled up the group chat from the week before, and showed them the messages where everyone was hyping up my siblings' lives while completely ignoring my birthday. This is why, I said simply, because I was tired of being ignored. They stammered for a bit, throwing out excuses about being busy and assuming I didn't care. I wasn't having it. You didn't forget, I told them. You just didn't care enough to remember. When they realized I wasn't backing down, they left in a huff. Over the next few days, I focused on preparing for the cruise. I packed my bags, finalized my itinerary, and made plans with a couple of friends who were coming along. This wasn't just a vacation. It was a celebration of reclaiming my life. But my mom didn't leave me alone and started calling other relatives, telling them I'd excluded her, and painting herself as the victim. A few aunts and uncles reached out, trying to mediate. You know your mom means well, one of them said. She's just hurt because she feels left out. Another said, family is family. You should try to work things out. It was exhausting. I wanted to tell them all to back off, to let me live my life without their unsolicited opinions. But instead, I gave non-committal responses. I'll think about it, I said, knowing full well I had no intention of caving. The day of the cruise finally arrived and I was buzzing with excitement. After everything with my family, this trip felt like a clean slate, a chance to celebrate myself without any of the usual baggage. We boarded the ship mid-morning, and the sheer scale of it blew me away. The place was massive. Over the next few days, the cruise became everything I'd hoped it would be. On the third night, after a particularly fancy dinner, Josh raised his glass and said, "To the man of the hour, finally taking what he deserves." Lisa chimed in, "You've come a long way, and honestly, we're just here for the ride." "Proud of you, dude." I hadn't realized how much I'd needed to hear that. For so long, I'd let my family's treatment define my self-worth. But here, with people who genuinely cared about me, I felt like I was finally breaking free from that. Back on land, though, reality started to creep back in. My phone was overflowing with messages from my family, and it was clear they weren't letting this go anytime soon. My mom had sent a long, rambling email about how she felt betrayed by my party and how I disrespected the family. Mia sent a sarcastic, "Hope your little vacation was worth it," while Alex kept it simple. "You're unbelievable." It was exhausting. No matter how far I'd come, they still found a way to pull me back into their drama. A few days after getting home, my dad called. It had been radio silence since he and Mom crashed my place, so I wasn't sure what to expect. At first, he sounded calm. "Hey, just checking in. How was the trip?" I told him it was great, and it felt normal, like we were just talking. Then he dropped it. "You know your mom's really upset, right? She feels like you blindsided her?" There it was. I sighed. "Dad, this wasn't about her. It was about me finally celebrating something for myself after years of being ignored. Why does everything have to be about her feelings?" He went quiet for a second. "I know. I just wish you'd handled it differently. It didn't have to come to this." That was it for me. "No, Dad, it didn't. But it did because you both made it clear over and over where I stand in this family. I'm done being the afterthought." The line was silent for a few beats, and then he sighed. "All right," he said, "if that's how you feel." And he hung up. No apology, just the same deflection I'd dealt with my whole life. At that moment, I knew I was done. I couldn't keep fighting to prove my worth to people who couldn't see it. Over the next few weeks, I let the ties unravel. I stopped responding to their messages, deleted the group chat, and focused on my own life. Work kept me busy, and my friends reminded me what real support looks like. A few months after the cruise, things were finally starting to feel normal again. Cutting ties with my parents had been the best decision I ever made. No more guilt trips, no more favoritism, no more bending over backward for people who never bothered to meet me halfway. Life was good, and Emma, my girlfriend of 3 years, was at the center of it. She'd seen me through the worst of my family drama, and never once made me feel like I wasn't enough. When I proposed, she said yes before I even finished asking. Our wedding planning was simple. Small, intimate, just the people who truly cared. My parents and siblings? Not even a thought. After the cruise, I wasn't about to invite the people who'd spent my whole life treating me like I was invisible compared to Mark and Sarah. The big day arrived, and everything was perfect. The venue was gorgeous. Emma looked stunning, and the people who mattered most were there to celebrate with us. For once, I felt like I was living my own story, not one where I played second fiddle to my siblings. But just as we were about to start the ceremony, the peace shattered. The doors to the venue slammed open, and there she was, my mom, dragging my dad along like an accessory. She wasn't just there to see or support, she was there to make a scene. "So, this is what you've been up to," she said loudly, her voice cutting through the room. "Planning a wedding and conveniently forgetting to invite your own parents. Typical." I froze for a second, disbelief washing over me. Then I stepped forward. "What are you doing here?" I asked, keeping my tone calm but cold. "What am I doing here?" she shot back, glaring. "I'm here because I deserve to be here. After everything we've done for you, this is how you treat us? Like we're nothing?" She took a step closer, her voice rising. "You think this little stunt makes you look good? Everyone's talking about your cruise and this ridiculous wedding. Do you know how embarrassing it was to hear our friends ask why we weren't invited? You made us look like bad parents." She sneered, her voice dripping with disdain. "You've always been petty, but this? This takes it to another level. No wonder Alex and Mia have surpassed you in life. You've always been too self-centered to succeed." Her way of screaming, the complete lack of awareness. It was all too much. I clenched my fists, trying to stay calm. "Embarrassing? You think this is about you being embarrassed? This isn't about you. It never was. But you couldn't stand the idea of not being the center of attention, could you?" The room went silent as all eyes turned to her. My dad stood off to the side, avoiding eye contact, as if he wanted to disappear. Typical. He'd never stood up to her for anything, not even when she treated me like I was an afterthought for my entire life. "This isn't about you," I said, my patience wearing thin. "This is my wedding. You weren't invited because I wasn't going to let you ruin it. Ruin it? She snapped. You ruined this family when you started acting like a victim? You think you've had it so hard? We did everything for you. And what do we get? Nothing. Meanwhile, Mark gets a promotion, Sarah graduates, and you throw a tantrum because we didn't throw you a party. There it. As plain as ever. Even now at my wedding, she couldn't stop comparing me to them. This isn't about Mark or Sarah, I said, my voice sharper now. This is about you never caring about me the way you cared about them. You've spent my whole life making sure they came first. I got tired of being your afterthought. The tension in the room was palpable. Some of my friends and extended family started murmuring, clearly uncomfortable with the scene. My mom, though, wasn't done. She turned to Emma and sneered. Good luck dealing with this one. He's been bitter his whole life. Don't say I didn't warn you. That was it. I stepped closer, my tone firm. Mom, leave. Now you've made your point. You don't care about me. You care about control. But this isn't your day, and you're not going to ruin it. My mom stood there for a moment, stunned, then looked at my dad. Are you just going to stand there? She demanded. He muttered something about not wanting to make it worse, and avoided eye contact. With one last huff, she turned and stormed out, dragging him along. A few guests, clearly uncomfortable with the scene, started to quietly gather their things and head for the door. I caught a couple of apologetic glances, but I didn't stop them. I wasn't about to let her outburst ruin the night for the people who actually cared about us. I turned back to Emma, who smiled at me softly, her calm presence grounding me. Let's do this, she said. And just like that, the day was back on track. For the rest of the night, I focused on the people who mattered. Emma, our friends, and the family who'd shown up for us. My mom's stunt didn't ruin the day. If anything, it reminded me exactly why I made the choice to cut ties. This was about us, our new beginning, and the life we were building together. A few days after her uninvited appearance at my wedding, my dad called. I wasn't surprised. He always played the middleman when things got messy with my mom. Still, I wasn't prepared for the conversation. Hey kiddo, he started, as if nothing happened. How's married life treating you? It's good, I said, waiting for the real reason he'd called. There was a pause before he cleared his throat. Look, about the wedding, your mom's pretty upset. Dad, she crashed my wedding. Uninvited, I said. I know, he replied quickly, as if trying to pacify me. But you have to understand where she's coming from. She felt hurt, excluded. She just wanted to be part of your big day. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Part of it. She showed up, made a scene, and embarrassed me in front of everyone, Dad. How is that okay? Well, he said, hesitating. She wasn't thinking clearly. You know how emotional she can get. But honestly, don't you think you could have handled things differently? Maybe given her a heads up? I mean, you know how much she loves you, even if she doesn't always show it the right way. I tried to keep my cool. Handled it differently? Are you serious? I didn't invite her for a reason. She spent my whole life putting Alex and Mia first, and you've just let her. Now she's throwing tantrums because I finally stood up for myself. That's not fair, he said, his tone defensive now. Your mom's done a lot for this family. You can't blame her for wanting some acknowledgement. And honestly, the way you've been shutting us out, it hurts, kiddo. We're your family. You're really making this my fault? I said, my voice rising. She's never been there for me the way she has for Alex and Mia. She humiliated me on my wedding day. And you're still trying to defend her? She's your mother, he said firmly, as if that explained everything. Family isn't perfect, but you can't just cut us out like this. You'll regret it someday. That was it for me. No, Dad. What I regret is spending years trying to win your approval. I'm done with the guilt trips and the excuses. If you can't see why I'm standing up for myself now, then maybe you're part of the problem too. After all this, I couldn't take it anymore. The messages my mom sent after the wedding, and her being completely oblivious to how much damage she'd done, were the final straw. I needed to confront her. She needed to understand that I wasn't going to tolerate her behavior anymore. I drove to her house that evening, rehearsing what I was going to say. By the time I arrived, my frustration had boiled over, and I was ready to lay it all out. I knocked on the door, and when she opened it, her face immediately shifted to that smug, condescending look she'd perfected over the year. Well, look who decided to finally show up, she said, crossing her arms. I was starting to think you'd forgotten about me entirely. I didn't bother with small talk. We need to talk. Now. She stepped aside and I walked in, my words already forming in my head. You don't show up at my wedding like that, I said, turning to face her. What you did was completely unacceptable. She was shocked that I confronted her like that. Excuse me? I had every right to be there. I'm your mother. If you had just invited me in the first place, I wouldn't have had to. I laughed bitterly. Had to? No, you didn't have to do anything. You chose to crash my wedding because you couldn't stand the fact that it wasn't about you. That day was supposed to be about Emma and me, and you turned it into a spectacle. She scoffed. Oh, please. You're being dramatic. All I did was show up to support you. Something a good mother does, by the way. And this is how you thank me? Support? I said, my voice rising. You call barging in uninvited and causing a scene support? You've spent my entire life treating Mark and Sarah like royalty while I got ignored, and now you expect me to believe you were there for me? Her tone turned sharp, her words colder than I expected. I've always treated you fairly, but let's be honest. Mark and Sarah deserve the attention they got. They've always been more responsible, more successful, and frankly, easier to support. I gave them what they earned. I froze, disbelief washing over me. What? I said, my voice steady but laced with anger. You're saying they earned your love and attention? That I didn't deserve to be treated the same because I wasn't good enough in your eyes? She shrugged, completely unapologetic. I didn't say you weren't good enough, but they've always worked harder, accomplished more, and they never made everything so difficult. You can't expect me to give you the same effort when you didn't show the same promise. I laughed bitterly, the years of frustration bubbling to the surface. So it's a competition now? You played favorites because I wasn't the golden child you wanted me to be? Her face twisted with annoyance. Call it whatever you want, but life isn't fair, and I did what I thought was best. If you're upset about that, maybe you should have worked harder to deserve it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Worked harder? Mom, I spent my whole life trying to earn your approval, only to watch you throw party after party for Mark and Sarah, while I got excuses and grocery store cakes. And now you're telling me that was my fault? That I didn't deserve the same love and care because I wasn't enough for you? Her expression didn't change. That's life. You don't always get what you want. I took a deep breath, the frustration boiling over into clarity. You're right, Mom. I didn't get what I wanted from you, and now you're not going to get what you want from me. I'm done. Done trying to fit into a family where I'll never matter as much as Mark and Sarah. Her eyes narrowed. And what's that supposed to mean? It means I'm cutting ties, I said firmly. You've made it clear where I stand in this family, and now I'm making my own priorities clear. Don't call me. Don't email me. Don't show up uninvited again. I'm done. She sneered, the entitlement radiating off her. You'll regret this. Cutting off your family? You'll come crawling back when you realize you can't do it alone. I stepped toward the door, my voice calm but final. I've been doing it alone for years, Mom. The only difference now is that I'm not pretending anymore. I walked out, not looking back. The weight I'd carried for so long felt like it had been lifted. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt. I was just done. That night, I went home to Emma and told her everything. She listened quietly, then hugged me, reminding me that I wasn't alone. She was right. I had her, my friends, and the family I'd chosen. For the first time, I felt like I could finally move forward, on my terms, without the baggage of a family that never truly valued me. I've cut ties, not just with my mom, but with the entire family dynamic that has held me back for so long. I'm done chasing their approval, or trying to fit into a role they never really wanted me to play. My focus is on Emma, my friends, and the life I'm building with the people who truly care about me. To everyone who stuck with me until the end of the post, thank you. Your support, advice, and understanding mean more than I can express.